Alright folks, welcome back to another video with flyfishingwithjeff.com. It's another overcast, cold day. It's about 28 degrees here in Bennett Spring, and it's Monday. It's the last day. I hope you've enjoyed the past two videos on Fly Fishing Zone 1 and Fly Fishing Zone 2. Through the year I get a lot of questions from various people, and they're all good questions on different techniques for catching fish. And so today I'm going to do a video with 5 what I would just say are some of the handiest tips, things for you to think about while you're fishing to increase your odds. And again, some of these things it's taken periods of years to develop a sense of when to set a hook, for example, and how to set a hook. So I'm going to run through some things with you today, and I hope they help. I'm by no means the expert on this. I do tend to catch a lot of fish, and I think that these tips will help you not only here at Bennett for sure, but catching trout anywhere, or extending that on to catching smallmouth or any of our game fish, whether it's standing water or moving water. So that being the case, that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're not really going to focus on catching fish here. If we do by accident, that'll be a different situation, but we're going to talk about some tips. So the first thing is casting direction. And let me strip out a little bit of line here for you. It's below freezing, so I've got to get things lubed back up. Is casting direction to increase or decrease the depth of our fly. To increase or decrease the depth of our fly. If I cast straight across, now this water isn't moving very quickly, but the fish will start to move. The fly will start to move down, let's say at a medium rate, okay? And, oh, well, there you go. So that was just accidental. I wasn't planning on that by any means, but we'll take a fish in the middle of it. Again, I've got my same setup that I've had for the last couple days, and when it works, I don't change it a whole lot. I've got 3X tippet. I've got one of my cream-colored trout candies, sink tip on a 6-weight system here. But let's talk again about casting direction. If the water is flowing faster from left to right here, I want to cast upstream, therefore giving myself time to allow the fly to sink. Now, one of the things I like to do is I make my cast and I put a couple upstream mends in it, okay? This loop part right now is giving the fly portion, the sink tip portion, time to sink, to fall a little bit deeper in the water. And that may be the case. If the sun were out right now, then I would need to have a little bit more depth, okay? And so to do that, again, I'm going to make my cast and I'm going to put an upstream mend. Now that allows that fly and that sink tip portion of this line to actually sink and get a little bit more depth. Now I tighten up on the fly and I start to pull it at a lower or deeper depth in the water level, okay? And that's very important. I always talk about what I call the death zone. I don't know where they're at today. That first fish was up pretty high, but let's say that the fish are 2 or 3 foot deep. Well, I'm going to have to make that cast, mend. Now, I'm going to let that fly sink without doing anything right now. Be ready to strip set at any time. This works very well with smallmouth, in fact, brown trout. And now I'm going to start to work that fly. Oh, there was a take. And that fly has gotten down deeper. There was another take. So now, let's say on the reverse that the water's slow or the fish are up, now I may actually want to cast downstream, okay? Not into the structure over there, let's hope, but cast downstream. Now that fly, I'm already retrieving that fly, and it's going to stay in that top part of the water column, okay? So your casting direction with the same line can make a lot of difference. Now, if I really needed to get the fly deeper, then there's a couple of things I can do. The first thing I can do is put a little bit more weight on my fly, okay? Or I can go to my sink tip 3 or even a sink tip 6. But with the same line and casting in different places, I can make my fly go to different depths. And you got to use that mend to do that. Now, one more thing that I want to show you is a reach cast. If I'm going straight across, I'm going to cast and reach that fly line to my left. Now that gives that fly just a little bit of time to sink before it starts to, before I start to retrieve the fly, okay? So that's a reach cast. I may pull it out here, and as I cast it, I'm going to reach to my left, let the fly, that works real well with a floating line because you've got time to move that line up on top. So think about your casting direction and how deep it will create a chance for the fly to drop in the water column. All right, so let's talk about another tip. This is probably the #1 tip for me. My sons won't want to hear that, but I fish beside my sons. And strip setting and learning to strip set is the key to this whole thing. Now, I'm making short strips, as you can see. I'm moving that fly maybe 2 to 3 inches at a time. As it falls down through there, my rod tip's in the water, and I'm following that fly line to create the shortest distance between me and the fly. Now, when I get ready to strip set, I want to make a long strip set. It's going to look like this. It's going to shorten that line up. Okay? Shorten that line up. Long strip set. That's going to do two things. That's going to put the hook in the fish's mouth if they have it at that time. And here's the most important thing. It's going to allow me to only move my fly a short distance, maybe that much. Okay? So as I move the fly this much, it's still within striking distance for the fish, the trout, the bass, whatever you're fishing for. If I come, and I see this a lot, and I try to strip set and raise my rod, I've now moved that fly 3, 4, 5 foot. It's out of the area, it's out of the zone for the fish and their vision. Now again, smallmouth, they often will hit their target and stun them and then turn around and take them head on. So I've made a decent cast this time. I'm going to make short strips, and I'm following, waiting for any kind of action. If I get it, I get a short strip, and I set the hook by I set the line by stripping it and putting the hook in the fish's mouth. So let's try that one time here. I'm going to make a cast right here to this cover. Okay. Now it's going to start to fall. I'm following my line. I'm making short strips. If I get any kind of bobble, hesitation, anything at all, I'm going to make a strip set. Right there it is, that long strip set all the way out. And that's going to shorten the length of the line and set the hook on the fish. Now, that's obvious. If we can't set the hook on the fish, you can't catch the fish. So, again, short strips. I'm only moving that bait fish a little bit at a time, and I'm waiting for any kind of take. When I do, strip set, strip set, strip set, right in there. All right, give that a go. Another tip here, and this is kind of a casting and a controlled tip. You have to understand that sometimes to be effective with trout, you're going to be using a short or a small tippet size, 3 or 4x, maybe even 5x if the water's crazy clear. But I could be, as a streamer person, using a very heavy fly. Okay, so to make that cast accurately, and I've already spoken to you about this a little bit, is I'm going to do a water load. Okay, and that softens up the cast. Now I'm doing it over here to my left so that I can bring it back and place it right on the edge and start my retrieve. Okay, now if you're only casting a short distance, you can, even with sink tip, you can use a normal casting motion. But if you're trying to start to cast over a long distance, okay, this water loading keeps your fly from getting snapped off. You may have a very small tippet on, and by water loading it, I'm making the disturbance over here, but placing the fly over there, I can keep from snapping my fly off and losing my fly. That doesn't do anybody any good. It also helps when you're along cover to back cast a little shorter. Okay, the water loading helps. I can back cast a little shorter and let my line flow all the way out, just like I did just then. Let that line come all the way out. Shoot that line towards the other side. Okay, so give that little tip a little bit water loading casting a try, and see where you go to from there. All right, so my last tip, I'm going to kind of put two things together. The nice thing, the beauty of this sink tip line is it allows me to fish the water I want to fish. Let's say I only want to fish the first, oh, there was one right there, the first 5 or 10 foot from the bank. I can make some strips. My fly has moved through that area, okay? I can pick it up, little roll cast, pick it back up, pop it, put it right back in that same area. And it allows me to quickly cover the area that I think the fish are going to be in. Roll cast, pick it up, one water load, pick it back up, boom, I'm right on the edge there, okay? Now, if you're fishing up north in the Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota area, a lot of those smallmouth won't come out. They won't come more than a few feet out from the side because of the overhead predators like ospreys and eagles. So the beauty of this sink tip line, okay, is it allows you to pick it up, make a roll cast, one water load, boom, and put it right back in the same pocket of water. And it only makes sense that if I can fish the fishable water, the water I want to fish where I think the fish are, and do it over and over, I'm going to have more. Now, success. Along with that, and this is always important, is you can see where my rod tip is. My rod tip is down in the water, and I'm going to keep that rod tip down in the water at all times, so that when I make my strip set, right there it is. I've got that water rod tip right at the line. I'm not up here, and I don't have that loop or that bridge or that gap, that extra distance. So again, when you want to fish, in my opinion right now, the fish are going to be right on that side over there. Okay, I'm going to fish that edge. I'm probably 10 foot away now. Okay, got no takes. I'm going to pick it up, roll cast, pick the fly up, one water load to my left, boom, and right back down into the same little basin or cup of water where I think the fish are cruising. Now, just as a little bonus here, I just saw a fish move right out there ahead of me, and you think, well, that's kind of nutso, but it really isn't. Even with the streamer, we can pick off those fish. So I'm going to make one cast, and I'm going to allow my fly to drift slow. Oh, right there he was. I missed the take. I'm going to pick it up, roll cast one more time, put my fly back down in there, and start that casting motion all over again. I hope that these tips help you. I hope you can kind of work your way through this. Again, it takes time to train your body to strip set upon anything. No matter what I feel, I'm strip setting. It doesn't cost you anything. Strip set. Think about the direction of your cast. How low do you want your fly in the water? And then start practicing your water loading so that you can effectively make a little longer cast without snapping off your fly if you have to go to a small size of tippet. Again, I hope those tips help you out a little bit, and it makes for a more successful day on the water. You were a high flyer, weren't you? Easy. There you go. All right, folks, so I'm going to give you one last little bonus tip. Is I get a lot of questions about, hey, I'm new to fly fishing, or I've tried Bennett, don't have much luck. I call this the kiddie pool. No offense, because it's one of my favorite places to fish. But I brought a few family members here, taught my two boys how to fish here by coming up here. There's the head of the pool right here. Some of the cabins and condominiums back there that are rentable, which is an awesome way to go. You can come here and rent one of those. You can sleep 4, 6, 8 in there, bring your own food, stay here all weekend. But this is, like I said, what I call the kiddie pool, and I like to come up here. I've tied on a white woolly, and I usually like to have something bright for young fly fishers, people that aren't quite experienced, so that when they start to fish, they can actually get a visual and see, look for the fly, look for how it's swimming, when it's taken, does it disappear, those kinds of things. So if you're bringing someone young, or maybe you're just new to the game yourself, or you're not confident, come on up here to this area, catch and release. Find a day when there aren't many people around. Now I can see my fly, and give it some time up in here. There are a lot of fish up in here to be caught, and it's kind of a calm area. It might get crowded during the season, but it's not crowded during catch and release up in here. And you know, cut your teeth on something, learn how to fish a little bit. All right, so that's why I like this area up here. Like I say, I call it the kiddie pool, because you can get into some fish, and sometimes they're pretty good, healthy fish up here. I mean, that's a 14-inch, maybe 15-inch rainbow, nice sized fish. But again, it's just fun to bring someone young who hasn't done it much, or somebody who's new to it. They need to at least feel the fish, get a tug once in a while for it to be fun.